Welcome to the second episode of our house buying series. New build properties are becoming more popular all over the United Kingdom. In today's video, we show you how to buy a new build house. Let's go. Hi, my name's Alex Kerr. I'm a qualified mortgage broker and my passion is simplifying the mortgage process for first-time buyers. Let's get into the vid. So a common misperception is that buying a new build property is just the same process as buying any other house. That's not the case. So let's break down the process and look at the differences and look at why you might favour buying a new build property. Let's look at the advantages and disadvantages and the requirements to buy a new build property. So let's have a look at the process first. To buy a new build house, the first step would be, of course, locating one. You can go on to all the usual websites. In this example, let's look at Rightmove. So just open up Rightmove and scroll up to buy and select new homes for sale. Type in the area you would like to look at and press search. This would then come up with some filters. You can choose your search radius, price range and minimum bedrooms and choose find properties. I then like to select filters and click on Don't Show Retirement Home. You can also decide if you would only like to show buying schemes in the must-have filters to the left. This will bring up properties in the buying schemes like shared ownership and help to buy. If you do not select this, it will show all new build properties whether they are connected to a buying scheme or not. For this example, I will choose buying schemes and then click Done. You can then scroll down and look for a property. Here you will see this property shows that help to buy is available. I can then select this property. There we see help to buy. You can then get in touch with the agent to arrange a viewing. Also, as a bonus tip, I would download 2 Google Chrome plugins, one called Property Log, which as you can see is showing me any price changes and when the property was listed. This is fantastic information. On the right hand side you will see a plugin called Property Data, which provides other fantastic information about properties that have sold in the area you are looking. You can even generate a report. And as always, I've left the links to these plugins in the description below. The viewing. When buying a new build property, some sites you visit may not have started building properties and others may be further developed. A build is normally developed in what you call phases. So when the build has just started, this will be known as phase 1. So understanding at what stage the build is will help you understand how to approach buying a new build. For example, if the development is at the end of a phase, you may be able to pick up a property at a discounted price or with extra incentives. This is because builders want to quickly move on to the next phase once the previous phase has completely sold. At the end of the phase, you may also have properties come available again as buyers may have been unsuccessful in obtaining a mortgage and therefore the property is relisted. You will often find developers will provide digital videos of developments once it's done. You normally find that these do not fully reflect the final build and quite often the finishes in the digital images will vary to the final build, so be prepared for that. You will often find you can choose carpets, tiles and various other parts of the build before it is completed. I would highly recommend visiting a showroom, even if it means travelling a long distance, as I would not advise choosing from magazines and websites as the finish and colours will not be 100% accurate. The developers will have a timescale to get the phase 1 properties finished. You may find some bigger developments have show homes and some smaller developments may not. There will come a point when the properties will be available for reserving. You may find new build properties sell very quickly as soon as they are able to reserve. So once you have viewed a new build property, in order to purchase it, the agent or developer would require you to 1. Show you our mortgage material and 2. Place a reservation fee. Mortgage criteria. So when you are in the process of searching for mortgage lenders and researching this area, it is key to choose a mortgage lender that will lend on new build properties, and take note of the deposit required, as this can really change quite substantially between mortgage lenders. Lenders will normally look for at least 10% deposit for a new build house and a 15% deposit for a new build flat. This can change subject to criteria, but I have noticed some lenders' criteria recently becoming more flexible in buying new build properties, so just be sure to check on mortgage lenders' websites for the maximum loan to value they offer. The minimum deposit for a new build property is 5% at the time of this video. This includes buying through a buying scheme like Help to Buy or shared ownership, or buying a new build property without the use of any schemes. There are only a very small amount of lenders who offer 95% mortgages on new build properties without the use of a government scheme. The more you put in, the more options you will have. You will also find the minimum deposits can vary if you are buying a house or a flat. It is also worth taking note of when the completion of the new build property will take place. You will find this information usually when scrolling properties online or when speaking with the agent or developer. Bear in mind that most mortgage offers last for 6 months, so you won't want to submit a mortgage for a property which has a completion date of 12 months' time, so timing is key. Once you have shown your mortgage material, you can then reserve the property. This will usually be around £500. Sometimes this is refundable, sometimes part refundable, and other times completely non-refundable, so be sure to check that out. When submitting a mortgage, the mortgage lender will need some different documentation, such as a CML incentives form and a reservation form. A CML incentives form provides information on any incentives you are obtaining from the developer. This could be furniture, stamp duty paid, a gifted deposit, or even some type of voucher. CML stands for Council of Mortgage Lenders, so be sure you get both of these forms. This is also another area you will have to check with the mortgage lender and the incentives they allow. Not all mortgage lenders will allow all types of incentives, so be sure to check this out. The reservation form will show details such as the purchase price and current address, as well as the incentives that are part of the deal. It's worth noting that you will start with a plot number and the nearest postcode for your address. Once completion takes place, you may be provided with a new postcode. Also, bear in mind it can take months for address databases to update your new address, so make sure you leave a detailed note on your Amazon orders. Off-plan versus on-plan. So this is something to be aware of. Buying off-plan means you are buying a property in where the build has not yet started. So you will be provided with maybe a brochure or a digital image or video of the property. Just be aware that digital videos and final builds are not always identical. Did mention this before. You may also obtain extra discounts buying off plan, so be sure to push for those, and if you can, and the development has other properties that have been finished or at least started, be sure to view those ones, as it will give you a feel for the overall design and build of the property. Buying on plan is where, of course, you would visit a development site and buy a property which has already been completed. This is more unusual, as most new build properties are sold before they are finished. However, maybe a sale has fallen through. You might be lucky to get an extra discount if a property at the end of a particular build phase has come up for sale again, as developers like to move on to the next build phase as quickly as possible and will have certain deadlines to meet. Buying schemes. There are usually around 3 options when buying a new build property. Option 1 is buying a new build property completely independent without the use of a buying scheme. This means you will need to put in the full deposit yourself. Option 2 is using Help to Buy, where you will obtain an equity loan towards your deposit. You need to be a first-time buyer and be aware of the regional price caps. Option 3 is purchasing a new build property via the shared ownership scheme. You will find some mortgage lenders will offer 95% mortgages for new build houses and flats. I've done complete videos on shared ownership and Help to Buy, which I will link as a playlist in the description below under government scheme playlists. Advantages and disadvantages of buying a new build. Advantages. A lot of the time you will have super fast broadband with Ethernet connections. The materials used and the way they ventilate brickworks will mean the properties last longer and will have fewer problems when compared to older properties made out of older materials. I'm talking about new build properties that are made really well, and yes, there are some bad developers out there, so I really urge you to make sure you do your homework on developers and even consider having a home buyer's survey on a new build property, as this will undercover any issues which a basic survey would not pick up, such as any lurking mould and dampness problems that may have occurred since the build. A final advantage is that you can have a say in part of the build and select any extras. You may be able to choose a kitchen, tiles, carpets and other extras. For example, when I bought a new build property, I had a hot tap added next to the cold one, so we could give our dogs a nice warm shower after a nice dog walk, which they really appreciated. Disadvantages: you may need to pay a higher premium when compared to older properties of a similar nature. Some bigger developments may have a lack of space for parking, meaning you are squeezing between cars to get out of the development. You may find some properties have thin walls, making it hard to put up your nice new 65-inch flat screen. Sometimes the completion date can be delayed, causing extra stress to your process, especially if you're renting, where you have to provide a date to vacate. And finally, you may have to wait a few years until the development is finished. Developments can be in built-up areas, can suffer traffic congestion, prices are often higher when compared to resale homes. Some new build developments can be poorly made, so be sure to research your developer. They tend to sell very quickly and can lose value as soon as you have moved in. Bigger deposits are required when buying. The garden will likely be smaller. You may need to live in a muddy and dusty site until the build is completed, with lots of noise from equipment. And last, but in no way means least, your Amazon drivers could get lost as your address takes a long time to update in the database. I think that is possibly the biggest problem. New build properties should have weep vents and trickle vents installed, so be sure to do your research on what these are and what they look like so you can check that they are present in the property. They allow walls to breathe. The last thing you want is a damp or mould problem. You should find some of the bigger well-known developers will build the properties correctly. I would be very cautious buying from brand new developers or isolated properties where there is just one or two new builds developed. Watching some of these cowboy builders online, I've seen new build properties built without the bricks overlapping at the corner of the property and instead just being put together with mortar. So this is one you can easily check. Even though you are buying a new build property, I would still consider obtaining a home buyer's report. This is a much more in-depth survey and could undercover problems that the eye cannot see, such as damp walls or corners cut during the build. When looking at new builds, just be sure that the developers are well known and established. You can find some great looking new build properties. I do feel the look of new build properties has improved in recent times, and you can find some great smaller developments with unique character. On the other hand, there are bigger developments with lots of properties next to each other, which again have pros and cons. You will find these properties are more affordable, so whatever your requirements, just be sure to do your homework. Once you've completed on your new build property, after 6 months you will need to report any snags to the developers so they can come and put right any issues. This is normal for issues to arise on new build properties. When doing your snagging check, be sure to check the bottom of the tiling and walls around showers and baths and the ceilings below the showers and baths. Check for any leaks or signs of bowing in the walls, as this could indicate water is getting through, which could cause multiple problems. For example, you will find the property will move, which will likely cause cracks to the walls, and you may find windows might not shut smoothly and things of a similar nature. Just be sure to get your snags list together and over to the developer, and any good developer will follow this up and provide a great service. Overall, I am a fan of new build properties, that much so I purchased one myself. It's been a great experience. The super fast broadband is epic for running my mortgage business from home, and the energy efficiency is fantastic. The build is solid, and almost a year later everything is good. But we did do our research into the developers and found they were very experienced and had really good reviews. There are plenty of pros and cons, and new builds are not for everyone. They're not everyone's cup of tea. They have carried a bad reputation, being made from cheap and undurable materials at times. However, I do feel in recent years I've seen some fantastic looking developments and there's been huge strides forward. Some developments are built in really amazing surroundings, so you could have a really nice view. On the other hand, you might be completely surrounded by concrete. It really does depend what your preferences are. If you are more into period cottages, then a new build property is probably a million miles away from your ideal home. But if you like the idea of better energy efficiency, a brand new home with fresh walls, fresh carpets and a blank canvas where you can start building your forever home, then a new build property might just be for you. Just be sure to check mortgage lenders' criteria carefully. I'm also very pleased to say we can now provide new build mortgages with just a 5% deposit on a new build house, and this is without any government schemes as well. If you would like a free chat about your new build options, just book an appointment by clicking the link in the corner of the screen or in the description below. Today's question: I would love to know if you are planning on buying a new build and had any questions. Mortgage warning. Please note we do need to let you know that your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage. So thanks for watching today's video. I hope it's provided you with some useful tips. Please check out the show notes for a recap with access to any links discussed today. Please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to receive notifications on our latest videos. I've been Alex Kerr, providing the best tools and tips to first-time buyers. I'll see you in the next one.